welcome back to the David67 Celtic News YouTube channel. This early Saturday morning video is a preview of this evening's very important away game for Celtic against St Mirren. Game will be live on Sky Sports. Kickoff is 8 p.m. And it pits St Mirren, who are currently ninth, against Celtic, who are currently second. And depending on how the Hearts and Aberdeen game goes, Celtic might well narrow the gap over the course of this weekend. Very important game, I think, for Celtic as a football club, as a family, to try to bring things back together. Obviously, pretty awful day all around on Friday. However, I think personally the best thing for me to do is to concentrate on the football matters, the game, the stats, my prediction for the score and the lineup, and hopefully things will settle down and people can start talking together and building solutions and rebuilding the club and rebuilding the tremendous Celtic family that's been going since 1888. So moving on to the football, which is something I feel better to talk about and more qualified to talk about as an enthusiastic, long-standing Celtic fan. So Celtic, as I say, is currently second place, trying to narrow the gap with Hearts. So they do have a game in hand. We will be playing Hearts on December the 7th. Goodness knows who the manager is going to be by that time. Ongoing rumours that Celtic and Columbus Crew and Wilfred Nancy are in deep negotiations, and some other stories suggesting that Celtic and Columbus Crew have as yet not even started negotiations on compensation. And so who knows whether this will be Martin O'Neill's last game, second last game, or whether he's going to carry on for all the games leading up to the St Mirren League Cup final on December the 14th, or even after that. Only time will tell. So Martin O'Neill, in his Friday press conference, it seemed to be almost exclusively all about the breakdown at the AGM and the abandonment of the AGM and all the stramash and disputes and fights, and very little on football. However, further interviews that O'Neill did has given us some good ideas of the various injuries and recovery spells at Celtic. Unfortunately, Cameron Carter-Vickers is going to be out for the whole of the season. He won't even be back into any form of training until the very end of the season, which probably scuppers any chance he's going to go to the World Cup with the USA. Slightly better news for Alistair Johnston. He's thought to be out for about 4 months, which would be him coming back around about March, April. Callum Osmond apparently has one longer month to recover, so he'll be coming back hopefully around about April time, so he might be back for the last 4 to 6 weeks of the season. Kelechi Iheanacho is starting to do some work in training, but O'Neill didn't give a specific recovery time. Much better news with Marcello Sirachi. He will be missing the game against St Mirren, probably missing the game against Feyenoord next Thursday, but hopefully back in the team for Hibs the Sunday after. James Forrest is out. There was no recovery spell for him given. And finally, Jota is out. He won't be back till 2026, but the exact date or month for that wasn't made clear. And so Celtic will be going into the game against St Mirren with a depleted squad, but still lots and lots of good quality players, several of whom have been in good form for Celtic and several of whom had very good or good international breaks with their respective countries. So the good news was that players like Colby Donovan, Sebastian Chiniecki, Kasper Schmeichel, Kieran Tierney, Johnny Kenny, Dyson Maida, Austin Trusty, all of whom have been back in training. Chiniecki and Donovan seem to have thrown off their injuries that affected them during the international break, and all the other players are back from all corners of the world. And Trusty and Maida both looked like they'd thrown off any signs of jet lag, and looked fit and active and fully participating in training on the video on Friday. So, on the basis of that, this would be my predicted lineup that Martin O'Neill will go for tonight's game against St Mirren at 8 o'clock. Don't think he'll take much in the way of risks. I don't think he'll make much in the way of changes to the team. I think he'll go with a safer, experienced team. So I think he'll go with Kasper Schmeichel in goals, although I think there is a strong argument for bringing in Viljami Sinisalo to be the number one goalkeeper if there is remaining uncertainty as to whether Schmeichel is going to sign for another season or two, or whether this will be his last season at Celtic. At the moment, he has been rather vague as to what his intentions are for next season and the year or two after that. I think at right back, Ralston, slightly better defender, maybe not quite so good as Donovan in the final third. Would be surprised if he went again for Jemai Simpson-Puzzi, but you never know. Central defence, I think that's obviously going to be Trusty and Scales. I think Kieran Tierney is going to be at left back. Some rumours that Hayato Inamura is going to be back into the matchday squad, which I think would be a good idea, as he would actually give some relief for Kieran Tierney at left back, and there is the possibility of even using him as a defensive midfielder. I think that might be an option for O'Neill or whomever the new manager is to explore over the next 6 months or so. In midfield, I think he'll go for McGregor and Engels as the more defensive central midfield two, going box to box, and in front of them, Benjamin Nygren as a more attacking midfielder, free role midfielder. Out wide on the right, Daizen Maida. On the left, Sebastian Chuniecki, and through the middle, Johnny Kenny. And hopefully no new injuries in the defensive back four. In terms of previous games between St Mirren and Celtic, previous stats, Celtic in the last 10 games against St Mirren, 9 wins, 1 draw. Celtic have 5 away wins in a row in all competitions against St Mirren. All time, Celtic have 51 wins, 6 draws and 5 defeats against St Mirren. And since St Mirren last beat Celtic, which was September 2022, Celtic have 12 wins and 2 draws since that time. That was a defeat early in the season under Ange Postecoglou, after Celtic had a good winning run. St Mirren not in terribly good form at the moment in the league. One draw and 4 defeats in their last 5. Stephen Robinson, their manager, both at St Mirren and at Motherwell against Celtic, has a pretty poor record against Celtic. He has 1 win, 5 draws and 23 defeats. And his only win against Celtic ever for either St Mirren or Motherwell was back in September 2022, which was the game against Ange Postecoglou's team. Martin O'Neill, in contrast, has a 100% win record with 4 out of 4 against St Mirren. And one final wee stat, very impressive from Daizen Maida, goal contributions in the year of 2025, which obviously still has a couple of months to go. He has 15 goals and 9 assists, so 24 goal involvements in the 26 games in the Scottish Premiership in 2025, which is considerably better than in 2023, when it was just 9 goal contributions, and in 2024, last year, it was 12, and that 24 goal contributions in 26 games puts him top of the table of all players in the Scottish Premiership in 2025. In terms of a predicted result for tonight's game between Celtic and St Mirren, I'm very much hoping that O'Neill, Maloney, Fotheringham, McManus, Strachan, etc. have done a very good job of keeping the players focused on the game, insulating them from all the stramash and controversy and disputes, etc. behind the scenes, and I'm pretty sure that O'Neill, Maloney, etc. will have got all the players all fighting together, playing together, and all on the same page. Of strategy, formations, tactics, etc. And I'm very confident that Celtic will in fact, win tonight. Slightly torn between a 2-0 win or a 3-1 win. St Mirren could be quite dangerous. They tend to be very good at mopping up pressure, taking and defending deeply and cutting down the space in midfield and particularly in the defensive zone, and then trying to hit Celtic on the break. They do have a bit of pace out wide. They do tend to play one or two big, strong target man style centre forwards. But I do think Celtic will have too much for them, and Celtic do actually have a very good defensive record this season, having faced the fewest shots of any team in the Scottish Premiership, the fewest on targets of any team in the Scottish Premiership, and they've given away the fewest goals of any team in the Scottish Premiership. So I'm very confident Celtic will keep up that very good league record, and so in the end, I'm going to go for a 2-0 win for Celtic, depending on the result that Hearts get. We may be even closer to being top of the table, with the prospect of maybe even overhauling Hearts if all things go to plan prior to the game between Celtic and Hearts on the 7th of December. As I said, at this point, it's uncertain whether this will be O'Neill's last game, whether Feyenoord will be his last game, or whether things carry on and drag on for another week, another couple of weeks. Who knows? Hopefully, Celtic do get a new person in. Hopefully, all the problems behind the scenes can be healed and discussed and brought back together, and we can all start fighting in the same direction, pushing and pulling in the right direction, and pushing Celtic towards the league and a cup or two and Europa League success. That's the hope, that's the dream. To finish off, just a wee polite suggestion, encouragement for those not yet subscribed to the channel. Please do subscribe to the channel. It would cheer me up no end on a wee bit of a miserable morning after a very miserable day on Friday. And do pop your thoughts, comments into the comment section regarding the lineup, the predictions, the score, etc. And so until the next video, which will be some form of post-match review on Sunday morning, until that video, goodbye and hail, hail.